I'm Josh Jakubowski, and I've decided to create a YouTube channel. So, I'm going to include some stories about my life, a few jams, and like today, a few lessons also, every once in a while. So, I'm going to kick it off with a little slide guitar lesson. Alright, so the first thing you want to focus on when you're learning how to play the slide is you don't need to push down on the strings at all with the slide. You just gently rest the slide right on top of the strings. And you can glide right up and down. You have infinite notes. You're not restricted to just the 12 notes that we think about in our Western way of thinking about music. Also, you want to mute behind the strings with your other fingers. Now you can put the slide on any one of your fingers. I don't really recommend putting it on your pointer because it doesn't give you any fingers to mute behind. The reason you do this is when you just rest the slide on the string, there's a vibration back here that picks up. So you just gently rest a finger or three right behind your slide. And it'll sound nice and clean. Also, you'll notice I'm doing a lot of vibrato in all of my licks, at least almost all of them. And so when you're hitting notes, you just kind of slide up. Don't get too carried away with finding, making sure you're right on the fret. You can get a lot of expression with the slide. So you want to. You don't want to be a perfectionist. The beauty is in the imperfection, There's a lot of different slides you can use. This one happens to be a copper pipe. It used to be a sink spigot. And I use this glass one a lot. This one has a nice smooth sound. Now, the first slide ever used was probably a rock or a bone. This is a technique, the slide technique almost definitely started in Africa, maybe undocumented somewhere else, but there's a few stringed instruments out there that people played with like a smooth rock or a bone. This is the smoothest rock I could find on the spot. I don't typically play with a rock, but I will, for an example. A little bit rougher, but it works. You can give it a little practice. Sometimes when you're having trouble holding any particular slide, you can play dobro style. A lot of early blues players played with a knife. I don't have very much luck playing with a knife at all. But it can be done, I'm not very good at it. I have better luck with a spoon, actually. The most common backup slide I see these days, and my favorite usually handy backup slide, is a lighter. But anything smooth and hard will work. They make glass slides, ceramic slides, metal slides. I used to have this little glass pill bottle that fit right over my pinky. It was almost like this, except it was a little jar that was originally made for some other purpose. Whichever you decide. Now, a few of you may have noticed that I am not in standard tuning. I happen to be in open G tuning. The most common slide tunings are probably open G and open D, and actually I've seen a few people play in standard. Nothing wrong with anything, you know, there's so many ways to tune a guitar. But open G and open D are useful. You can capo them up and get different keys. So, you know, if you're in open G, like I usually am, you can play an A just by capoing the 2nd fret, so forth and so on. In open G and other open tunings, open major chord tunings, you get a major chord every time you bar across all of the strings. So this is a G chord right here. You have D, G, D, G, B, D. And then you can play a C up here on the 5th fret just by barring across all the strings. Similarly, on the 7th fret you get a D. There's a couple other ways to play chords in any tuning, really. You can figure them out, but a few easy chords to get started when playing an open G. You want a C and a D. This is another way to play C. It's nice and convenient down here in 1st position, right there, bottom of the net. And here's a D. And if you want, here's another way to play a G, right here. These chords, I have written them down for you. There are just a couple to get started with, you know. If you'd like, email me and I'll give you the whole rundown on open G chords. Most important thing to do when you're learning any instrument or anything really is to pay attention to people that do it well. So, a few of my favorite slide guitar players, in open G anyway, are Robert Johnson, Son House, R.L. Burnside, Keith Richards, and Duane Allman. So they play in open G. Robert Johnson also plays in a couple other tunings, but get to that later. Open D, probably the other really popular slide guitar tuning, at least in American blues music. Elmore James is a very good example, so is Fred McDowell, and Blind Willie Johnson is really good too. It's one of my favorite. Blind Lemon Jefferson is also really good. Blind Lemon Jefferson plays in a few tunings and a few different styles. good example. That was my best interpretation of the Muddy Waters lick. So, I hope you enjoy. Stay tuned. Next week I'll keep the videos coming. Every once in a while I'll throw a lesson in there, throw a few stories, a few jams, who knows. Thank you for watching.